We should also be cautious about the motivation of the one who provides information. That's why the scriptures warn us against priestcraft. Some permanent commandments have taken considerable time to be generally observed. For example, President Lorenzo Snow's famous sermon on the law of tithing emphasized a commandment given earlier, but not yet generally observed by church members.
Tithe paying is evidence that we accept the law of sacrifice. It also prepares us for the law of consecration and the other higher laws of the celestial kingdom. President Lorenzo Snow taught that the law of tithing is one of the most important ever revealed to man. Faithful adherence to this law opens the windows of heaven for blessings temporal and spiritual. As a lifelong recipient of those blessings, I testify to the goodness of our God and his bounteous blessings to his children.
The Lord wants all his children to partake of the eternal blessings available in his temple. He has directed what each person must do to qualify to enter his holy house. All requirements to enter the temple relate to personal holiness. To assess that readiness, each person who wants to enjoy the blessings of the temple will have 2 interviews. First, with a bishop, bishopric counselor, or branch president. Second, with a stake or mission president or one of his counselors. In those interviews, several questions will be asked. Some of those questions have recently been edited for clarity. I would like to review them for you now. Are you a full tithe payer?
Travis Wayne Goodsall. So, last night, for Church News, Nelson came out with First Presidency Statement, saying that bleep Trump, we're going to give aid and comfort to illegals and terrorists. And Trump is cowering before Nelson, crying like a little baby. He needs to hear this video. He needs to be a man and stand up against Nelson. Nelson isn't bribing Trump. Trump only listens to people who bribe him, and he punishes those who don't. The church is not bribing Trump. And so why the church is getting away with all their crimes makes no sense to me. And how this evil organization can repeat lies and brainwash its members and the rest of the world is just horrendous. The illiteracy in their brainwashing just boggles my mind of how Mormons just, oh, okay. Seriously, section 119. Pop quiz, Mormons. Oh, I'm not ready for a quiz. It makes me stressed. I need my emotional support animal. Can I get a pass-fail? Section 119. Verse 5. Shall observe this law. Are laws a donation? No. They shall not be found worthy to abide among you. They're kicking us out when they win and get their kingdom back. And I say unto you, if my people observe not this law, to keep it holy, and by this law sanctify the land of Zion unto me, it shall not be a land of Zion unto you. This is what they're working for. This is their mission, their global mission, to get their kingdom back and kick out the intelligence. And so, tithing is for the building of the temples, for the laying the foundation of the kingdom, and for the priesthood. Tithing is for the priesthood and for the debts of the presidency. Do you not see anything wrong with this? You have to pay to have sex, because that's where you get married, in the temples. You prostitute your wives if you obey the family proclamation. Some women want to prostitute their husbands instead. That's the Roman practice. And so, priestcraft. Every single Mormon should go, wait a minute, priestcraft? What the hell? 2 Nephi 26:29. He commandeth that there shall be no priestcrafts. Oh no, which one? They're both true. I feel good about it. Church is true. No. These are direct contraries. It's either section 119 or the Book of Mormon. You can't have both. You can't serve both masters, Mormons. You pick one. If the Book of Mormon is your keystone, then section 119 is a forged document of Brigham Young. Hey, that's exactly what it is. And therefore, This criminal operation is a criminal operation. Not a church. Not a corporation. They're lying to you. Not complicated. Why is everybody screwing this up? Why are billionaires, who are the only ones who can sue the church, failing, calling tithing a donation? My hell. So yes, in the news today, the appeals court rejected James Huntsman. So again, calling tithing a donation gets shot down in flames. Dumbass privileged billionaire from daddy's inheritance. And so, Kayla says, the argument refers to the church's tradition. We're using the Oaks tithing clip. Oh, and the Lorenzo Snow. Where members give 1/10 of their annual income to the church in tithing. Now, good, she didn't call it a donation. But still, my hell. His major argument was that tithing was not being used for charity. Which, yeah, Malachi and the Book of Mormon and Joseph Smith all say it's supposed to be for charity. It's only Section 119 that changed it to priestcraft. And so he sued in the appeals court in Utah. Dude, what the hell? You know you're never going to win in Utah. You were in California. Stay in California. Is there no appeals court in California? Is they all together as one? What the hell? I quote... Yeah, no, he's not talking about the church, you dumbass. He's talking about the kingdom. He's talking about how Hinckley is quoted as saying that should a time come of economic distress, we would hope to have the means to weather the storm. Not us, the kingdom. We saw that in 2020. You died, your friends, your family, your neighbors, your ward members died. The church made the most amount on the stock market. That's insider trading, by the way, because Oaks got leaked. He was in charge of all of it. Nonetheless, Salt Lake Tribune on MSN has a better version. This was by Tony Semerad. Appeals court has thrown out Utah and James Huntsman's fraud lawsuit over millions of dollars in tithing. Yeah, he wants $5 million back. That's all you paid. In an unanimous, oh, that is so awkward, ruling, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals found no reasonable juror could have concluded that the Utah-based faith misrepresented the source of funds it used to spend the $1.4 billion on the building and development of City Creek Center. Because you called it a donation, you dumbass. And development of City Creek Center, church-owned mall, residential towers, in downtown Salt Lake City. I did the video in which they got raided by ICE. God. And so, yeah, apparently nobody is talking about donations anymore for this. What the hell? You dumbass. Misrepresenting the source of funds it used to spend. Well, the church is misrepresenting itself and what they use tithing for. But that's another case. Because of the way he filed it, he loses. Oh, there it is. There it is. There it is. There's donating. Huntsman, while living in California, sued the church in 2021, alleging he was fraudulently misled into donating to the faith by statements from church leaders, including Gordon B. Hinckley, that no tithing would be used for commercial projects. I see what you were trying to do, but you failed by calling it a donation. That's where you lost. Tithing is the law. By failing to call it the law for what it is, by failing to point out to the court that it means that women are being prostituted in this church, and that BYUs here in Utah are being used for sex trafficking of the prostituting of women, and that they're fraudulent federal misleadings and defrauding, because this isn't a church. There is no church. They never reincorporated a church. So the articles of incorporation that they're calling the corporation of the president for came from 1923 of Heber J. Grant, in which he says, we are a corporation for the religion. What religion? It's been dissolved by the United States of America back in 1887. And so thus the corporation is a fraud. And with tithing as its economics for which it makes its money, it's a criminal operation. Real simple. And we don't really even need to go back to Brigham Young. That's to understand the history of what they're intending to do. Their premeditated motive. You don't need motive to get to prosecute somebody, but it's for sentencing. So the defense wants to be able to present that they had no malintent in their motivation. It was just an accident. But the prosecution then, for sentencing purposes, has to show that no, they premeditatedly planned this for 200 years, and that they were purposely trying to defraud the government and defraud members and defraud the world for the purpose of funding terrorism, to overthrow the government and get their kingdom back. But Pharaoh told me no, I couldn't file my lawsuits. Back in 2020, the Exodus year. So, yeah, this is just plain to know the truth, to be doing 8.3K plus videos, to be silenced by YouTube, to be dismissed by Mormons who are illiterate, to be ignored by ex-foes who think they know better than me, and to see again another failure to shut this church down is just really pissing me off. What does it take? Why won't anybody listen to me? because now we're waiting for Judge Shelby for the other tithing lawsuit. And that appeals one will help bolster Shelby to again side with the church, because they too called it a donation. And so, yes, Church News had, the Relief Society president getting honored by Sundance for humanitarian aid, as the church deceives you into thinking that tithing and humanitarian aid are one and the same. No, they have dozens of separate sources of revenue. Tithing is just one of them. And Nelson came out after the whistleblower in 2019 and said, yeah, get over it. We do this with all of our sources of income. The same exact pattern. And so everybody around the world thinks that tithing is only source of income that the church receives, and that it's $250 or $250 billion now. That's what everybody thinks. That's how much the church is worth. They didn't listen. They didn't find out. Ensign Peak Advisors is only 10% of the total amount of tithing. He calls it the reserve of the reserve. And so the practice is everybody pays tithing. It goes into Zion's bank. The church has expenditures. Huntsman says that the total funding of the church is about $5 billion a year for everything. And so the $7 billion back in 2019 is more than enough to continue to run the church without members paying tithing. And so the 10% is treated like tithing for the LLC companies. And then there's a whole bunch that doesn't get used. They don't keep it in Zion's bank. Australian press exposed that the church has offshore bank accounts in non-extradition countries. That's where they put the rest. And so, 10% with $250 billion is $2.5 trillion. And they only spend a max of $5 billion. And not even that, because tithing only gets used for certain things. So it's far less. The other sources of income have their expenditures. And so the whole City Creek Mall thing was because that funding wasn't enough. So they laundered the money from the LLC company of tithing, Ensign Peak Advisors, to that one. That's what happened. But otherwise, every source of income has their own expenditures. And the church takes out 10% into another LLC company, a separate and distinct. And then the remainder gets laundered into an offshore bank account, separate and distinct. And so Heber J. Grant, 1973, when we bail on Mormons and dissolve the church, we're going to transfer all of our assets to an individual, whoever is alive at the time, to bail on Mormons. That's Nelson currently. Gotta study your church history, Mormons, and ex-foes. You knew, ex-foes, that this church lies. And yet you believe their lies as being the truth. And you never bother to find out, what are they covering up? What lies are they protecting which are true. What truths are they protecting with their lies? That's better. You failed. And nobody wants to believe me. Nobody acknowledges my authority. And that little, was it 8th grader? What grade was she in? Can't remember. It was in the previous clip I did. She says that she's intimidated by adults who know it all. And then I put Mormons avoid intimidation by denialism, something like that. I should put that clip in, or put that screenshot in for you. What does it take, guys? Dear God, the fall of the church has to happen, or we're all doomed. And you guys are all fooling around with your illiteracy. Nobody appreciates my videos. I quit. Holland, yeah.